From Koreatown, Los Angeles, thank you for tuning in to Ktown Social Club. This is where the world gathers to talk about the issues that you really care about. It's a different kind of a talk program. We're the only show that offers perspectives from the far left to the far right. Leave a comment and like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification bell. Check the description box below to follow all our social media. And I'm here I'm Michael Kim, joined by Ed Choi and Douglas Kim. And we're also joined by Rocco 1540 Robot because Michael Wan is off pursuing other things. So, we wish him all the best. And, yeah. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our program. Here we are together again with Ktown Social Club. How is it, guys?
It's okay, I guess.
Yeah. Ed and I, we had a nice lunch. We went to El Cholo, and he had, was it green enchiladas?
Green corn tamales.
Green corn tamales. He only ate one of them. And
we had like 4 appetizers. I was so full.
No, it was like 2. And I had the taste of history. We also had the Sonora-style nachos and the molcajete-style guacamole in that bowl.
Okay, it was 2, but it was a lot. They were huge.
Wait, is that the place we went to before?
When you were ranting about radical black liberals? Yeah.
Yeah.
That place,
okay.
Yeah. We had the nachos there, too, I remember.
The place was delicious, though. Very authentic, on point.
The guacamole is quite good there.
And they make it to order. It was delicious.
If you notice the one that came with the nachos, like that's the pre-made guacamole.
Yeah.
I didn't even touch that.
No, I didn't touch that either.
Yeah.
It was just green. It was just avocados.
We had the fresh guacamole with the... How many avocados were in there? Like 6 of them?
There's like at least 6 or 8. It was huge.
Like lime juice, chilies, cilantro, onions. Man, that was...
It's also the largest molcajete I've ever seen. That thing was ginormous. You can make soup in that thing.
Yeah. So anyway, next time maybe you'll join us.
Next time.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are together again with Ktown Social Club. And, we're going to get into some things today, like about China. And we're also going to talk about Kanye West, who is apparently in China. Doug has some news about that. We're also going to talk about... some British teacher who's teaching English to a Chinese kid and start lecturing him about Taiwan and then saying F you to this kid and his mother when the mother's like, what? Anyway.
It sounds so
It's a very white thing. What else? We're also going to get into how the U.S. is screwing over Taiwan. We're also going to get into OnlyFans versus NBA. Who makes more money? Who has a bigger payroll? And I think it's OnlyFans. And we're also going to get into all the endorsements that Kamala Harris is getting. So, it means that she's definitely a great choice for president, some would say. But let's start, first of all, with China.
Whoa, we're not going to talk about the pew, pew, pew on the fort.
Trump.
Shooting at golf?
Well, there was no shooting, no actual shooting.
No.
Oh, yeah, somebody tried to kill Trump, right?
Yeah.
What happened? I don't really know. I just know that it was...
It was at one of Trump's golf courses in Florida. He was playing golf, and Secret Service went a couple of holes ahead, by, I believe about 400 or 500 yards, and one of the Secret Service agents noticed a muzzle coming out of... A nozzle? Muzzle.
Yeah.
Coming out of a bush... and shot at him. The guy didn't shoot back, I believe, and just ran away and got away, but then eventually was apprehended. But he was found with a GoPro camera, some
ceramic tiles in his
bag. And then in his other backpack, he had a ceramic tile, which I have so many questions about that ceramic tile.
Wait, just like one?
Yeah, I think it was just one.
Maybe it was just like something that was in his bag.
But then why take the second bag?
I don't know.
From what the newspapers say, it just sounds like there was just that one ceramic tile in that second backpack, and the other one had
nothing else in the bag.
No, because they made it seem like the one bag had the GoPro camera and the other gun attachments, and then the other bag, I've read a couple news articles that said had a ceramic tile.
Interesting. Well, apparently that guy was also in fought in Ukraine for the Azov battalion, and he was
for Nazis.
Yeah, for Nazis, and also what else? He had put up a Taiwan flag somewhere when he was in Ukraine. There was a image of him.
Yeah,
with
so generally just supporting the military-industrial complex, American military-industrial complex.
Yeah, so I guess they didn't really talk about that, huh? I don't know if it's true. I just read it on
Pretty
here.
new, so, I mean, it just happened yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, was that just yesterday?
Yeah,
Sunday? Oh, okay.
I didn't even see the news article till I was going to bed.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't see it till you were going to bed. Okay.
No, I feel like this one wasn't. Maybe it's because a shot wasn't actually fired.
Yeah.
But this one wasn't as.
Yeah,
big
because
in the media.
the first one was at a campaign event.
Yeah, and he
Massive
almost got hit,
Yeah.
or did get hit, grazed. I guess is
Got
technically
grazed.
getting hit.
Like Suge Knight. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we hope Trump is okay, right? I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I think he's okay, and the shot was not even.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's a little startled.
We hope he feels better.
I think he like put something on Truth Social, said 0-2 or something, as a tweet.
That's not smart. It sounds like a dare.
Yeah. So here's some news. The House passes $1.6 billion to deliver anti-China propaganda overseas. Now, we discussed on this show how there was a $500 million budget before, right?
So it was like 500 million for that year, but it was like 500 million a year, or something.
Oh.
like
So
that.
for at least 3 years.
For something like that, yeah, for 2026.
So we got this new thing, according to, what is this, MSN, Responsible Statecraft by Marcus Stanley. Since 2016, at least, foreign interference in elections, central to our discourse. It's taken seriously, blah, blah, blah. So Monday, the House passed H.R. 1157, countering the PRC Malign Influence Fund, bipartisan, 351 to 36 majority. It authorizes more than $1.6 billion for the State Department and USAID over the next 5 years to subsidize media and civil society sources around the world that counter Chinese malign influence globally. Now, I'm guessing a lot of this is probably going to go to like Asia and Africa, maybe.
Yeah, probably like places like the American proxies, like the Philippines, South Korea, Japan, places to like shore up.
So are they trying to win over more hatred from countries that already have anti-China propaganda, or do you think they're going after countries that are somewhat pro-China? Or
Maybe
even
they're
neutral?
somewhat pro-China or neutral.
So for Africa, they probably want to make it seem like the Belt and Road Initiative is imperialist or some sort of fucking bullshit like that. When African leaders are saying it's not. In Asia, Southeast Asia, I think it's pretty much every country that's in the American orbit is anti-China. So I think it's more to kind of shore up the idea that China is this military threat to those countries, even though they're not. China has never, they haven't started a war since 1979.
Do we feel like this is something where America is going to Barbra Streisand themselves?
What does Barbra Streisand themselves hurt themselves?
Yeah, so Barbra Streisand a couple years back or however long ago, she got upset because someone publicized her address. So she went on this tirade about how messed up it was, which just made people who had no idea alerted to the fact that like Barbra Streisand didn't want anyone to know where she lives. So all of a sudden, everyone was now Googling Barbra Streisand's home. So she spoke her fear into existence by speaking it.
She manifested
So
it
I think
essentially.
I don't think that'll have. I think that might maybe be a factor with people who are Chinese American or people who are Asian or people, leftists who know what's going on. But to the majority, I think enough people hate China and enough people hate Asian people around the world that it's going to be effective.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So if they hate China and hate Asian people, at some point they're going to try to attack, whether it's culturally or, which isn't a word, or individually. You know what I mean? So then China might have to respond.
Well, China's
with their army. So that's what I'm saying. Are they going to Barbara Streisand themselves by saying that China's a huge threat with this army, and at some point China's going to have to?
They're actually trying to, in my opinion. I think they're
trying to
provoke. They're poking the bear so that they have the pretext to do some sort of nuclear
they could be
war.
I told you so.
Yeah, they really just want to start.
Fair.
It's been since 1958, really, or 1949, really. Since they started, they want to have nuclear war with China so they can destroy communism.
Okay, well, in this article it says, as the publics in many nations are likely to be suspicious of U.S. as well as Chinese involvement in their internal affairs, this could easily discredit genuine grassroots opposition to Chinese influence. So a historical example is Washington's funding of Russian civil society groups that criticized the integrity of Russia's 2011 parliamentary elections. So the U.S. was funding groups to basically protest the elections in Russia. That's kind of weird. But this backfired by allowing Putin to depict the opposition as tools in a U.S. plot and resulted in sharp restrictions on U.S. activity in Russia, including the expulsion of USAID, which is U.S. Agency for International Development. Yeah,
I think within China, more Chinese people are beginning to see that America's full of shit. I think that's true. I think they're seeing that America is fucking lying, and that's why there's much more Chinese nationalism in the past few years, pride in cultural products like Black Myth Wukong and the Battle of Lake Changjin. They're own movies rather than American products. They used to be really big into Marvel and all this other stuff, but now that America's showing its imperialist aggression, now they're no, we want to go back to our own stuff like BYD. You can get some cheap electric cars there. There's Huawei phones. This is cool new technology. There's more of a return to let's buy Chinese in the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for a little bit, but I'm pretty sure China just is trying to make as much money as possible, right? Well, when people were talking about the TikTok ban, I was well, what kind of information do you think they're stealing? Because the average person, we don't have any secrets, but the secrets that we do hold is our buying patterns, right? Which would benefit almost any business by being oh, okay, we see a trend. People want this or they want this. Now they're able to target us based off of our spending habits. The thing I find very disturbing is that while other countries are focusing on themselves to become better and bigger, because of, I think, the amount of corruption in our country, we can't do that.
What do you mean?
So then, we can't allow America to just grow bigger and better because there's so much corruption and the money's just, like Grace said, they're just, being mischievous with the money is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So, the only option we have to trump these countries that are bettering themselves is to essentially bully them.
Yeah, I mean,
talk shit about them.
What it's been for the past,
and go on
since World War II.
Go on a negative smear campaign and try to make them look like they're bad people. And
I mean, so traditionally before World War II, the British Empire was kind of doing a lot of that, with propaganda and especially with their colonies in India and all this other stuff. But once America took the helm, they worked hand in glove with the CIA in terms of creating propaganda against any country that, wasn't even communist. There was so many examples in South Africa, South America and Africa, where the leaders just wanted to have some sort of autonomy from America in terms of their trade and whatever. They weren't even saying we want to be communists. They're just saying we don't want this national fruit company in Guatemala to control all the fruit. We want that to be the Guatemalans, whatever. But the CIA would take people like that out too.
United Fruit, right?
Yeah, and they would use their propaganda, to, most people still think America's ultimately the good guy in the past 75, 80 years, when everything kind of points to the opposite.
Right. And let me read one more piece of this. It says another problem raised by the proposed legislation is the possibility that anti-Chinese propaganda financed by this program will flow back into the American media space and influence American audiences without any disclosure of its initial source of funding. So will this lead to an increase in anti-Asian hate?
Yes. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious when you see kind of like there are these Pew kind of like surveys of people's impression of China over the past 5-10 years or whatever, and all of it's like, you know, pretty like neutral and like until 2019 or so, and then it drops down to like teenage percentages. They were like kind of like 40% like approve of China, like, or whatever. So it's not like terrible, but then like now it's like in the teens and or maybe in lower now, and that because something like this was passed in 2021, I think, already. So they already had kind of like negative propaganda going against China in the past few years, and we can already kind of like see the direct effect, like their view of China has decreased. And what do we see with that percentage decrease? We see an increase of anti-Asian hate crimes, right? Like every year has been like a triple-digit % year-on-year increase. So it's just kind of like, you know, a lot of people in the mainstream don't connect these dots because they know that this is happening and this is the outcome that they want, because they want to distance themselves from anything wrong that's going on in America and be like, oh, well, you know, some Asians are getting killed. It's not my problem. I don't like, no one cares about them. They don't, you know, nobody cares about voting for them or voting for their interest or anything like that. Right. So I don't give a fuck.
How about you, Ed? What do you think? Do you think this will lead, this $1.6 billion in anti-China news around the world will lead to more hate crimes against Asians here at home?
Yeah, I mean, people think we're all monolith anyway, so they're not going to be able to differentiate between Chinese, Korean.
So, and this passed with like a huge majority. So it seems like Democrats and Republicans are pretty united in this.
Yeah.
Anti-Asian.
I mean, the whole bipartisan thing is a facade.
Yeah, I think we've discussed that several times already. Yeah. It's just
well,
everything to support American imperialism.
For our newer viewers. And here's a tweet from Cyrus Jansen. I believe he lived in China for a while. He makes some interesting content. He says, just remember the next time you hear China is the biggest threat to America, the U.S. government is investing billions in propaganda to portray China in the most negative light possible. It's incredibly sad and just ridiculous. China is the most important trading partner for the United States. Our economies are completely intertwined, and it's completely impossible for the U.S. to decouple from China. We should be advocating for better diplomacy, better communication, more Americans to study Chinese, more cultural exchanges. The reality is the U.S. and China must find a way to coexist, but yet we spend billions on propaganda. Incredibly sad for the future of our world.
I mean, like, we have people who work in our government who are stealing hundreds of millions of dollars, but we're scared that Chinese people are going to sell us stuff. That's like a little crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to Nazi propaganda in the 1930s about the Soviet Union. Just like saying, oh, the Bolsheviks, they're coming to kill us. It's either them or us. You know, the Jews are controlling the Soviet Union, so the Soviet Union is all Jews. So it's either the Germans or the Jews. You know, it's like it's them or us. You know, it's the same kind of like fear propaganda that they're trying to instill in not just you know, places in Asia and Africa, but again, it's going to be funneling back here. And it's like, oh, well, we got to kill this threat. You know, this threat that's going to come for us and, you know, take over and whatever, and like, you know, do this TikTok.
But from like a logical standpoint, so right now the biggest issue amongst average Americans is how expensive everything is, right? Inflation, how everything is not affordable anymore. So if we logically take how everything was manufactured in China, which is how they got rich over the last few decades, and we did that to help with costs and keep up the quality that's there, then if we're imposing all of these insane tariffs on China, then does the average American not realize that everything is going to get more expensive?
The average American is not very smart. I mean, the educational system here is just terrible. I've just realized that, like, you know, are on top of this because we pay attention to the news or whatever and all this other stuff. But the average American, like, they do not know.
Yeah, like for instance, like
basic economics.
Trump's whole campaign merchandise, almost all of it is manufactured in China, right? Why is that? Because it was the most affordable for the bang for the buck, because merchandise is essentially, a lot of it is just given away. Like for sure, some are bought and sold, definitely.
Yeah.
So if we're taking away that component, because again, I've worked in the manufacturing industry in America and it's shit. So it's like, and it's expensive.
Because the idea is that, like, we're protecting American businesses from IP theft and all this other stuff. But in reality, like...
But that, which is crazy, because, like, I've had a business where some of our shirt ideas were stolen in China, and it did not affect me a single goddamn penny.
Yeah, because they're selling to people in China. They're not selling to your
Granted,
target.
sure, there were some people who were coming to China to buy our stuff, but I kind of attributed that to the fact that there were stolen designs out there, which made us a little bit more well-known in China.
Right.
Which I get it. You don't want people stealing your IP, but...
But yeah, no, to your other point, too, I think you might be right, because, like, BYD, for example, if they want to sell any cars in America, there's a 100% tariff that even Canada just also followed its suit.
Yep.
So, yeah, like, if you're making products literally 2x more expensive than they should be, you're actually increasing the price. Like, they're trying to sell these electric cars for, like, 14 grand. I'm like, I would fucking buy
even
it.
at 100%, that's still cheaper than a Tesla.
Yeah.
With more features.
But, you know, it's literally the American government that's making things more expensive for the average American consumer.
Yeah.
Especially with, you know, it's wars, right?
So it kind of seems like, as an average American citizen, our biggest competitor, or not competitor.
Our biggest enemy is the American government.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Enemy, right. The person most out to get us.
Yeah.
Because we fund their life through taxes. Right?
I like to think of things for, like, if I'm a fascist, what am I going to do, right? If I'm in control of the American government, what's my prerogative? I want to stay in power.
Yeah, so
right?
it's like playing the what is the most corrupt thing that's probably the most realistic thing.
So it's just kind of like, hey, Americans are angry right now. Americans don't like this war that we're in Israel. What do? I know. Let's find a scapegoat for all of our problems that we could just throw $1.6 billion at, and they're just going to be distracted. They're just going to hate these stupid chinks that are ruining their society. And, you know, like they've been doing for the past century or so. They've just been saying, like, oh, it's the Chinese that you have to be concerned about. I think Malcolm X even said this in his book, where he was like, oh, the white man fears the China man. That's why they're saying so much propaganda against him. So it's just kind of like, you know, if I'm the government, right? If I'm the CIA, I'm thinking, hey, we can solve a lot of our problems by just dumping it onto the Chinese, because, like, people are already racist. They already hate China. And, you know, all this stuff, like anti-Chinese propaganda, it's kind of already baked into the American identity itself. So that's why it's so effective. You know, I mean, like $1.6 billion is a lot of money, yes, but they would have to spend lots more money if they were making the similar types of propaganda against other kinds of countries. There's just like so much latent anti-Asian hate in America that isn't really like discussed, because, like, oh, we're doing so well, how could there be anti-Asian racism in America? Like, you know, the Asian Americans are doing this, but that, like, you know, glosses over a lot of factors in terms of, like, oh, well, that's only a certain amount of people, and that, you know, there's massive income inequality with the Asian Americans. So they like to like, the American government both likes to say, hey, these are the model minorities, hey, these are the white adjacent people, you don't need to actually worry about them. They're doing fine. They're on their own. And then they also like to, you know, say it's actually China that's responsible for all these problems. It's actually Asian Americans that are in the way of progress with affirmative action. They're complaining about it because, you know, they shouldn't be, because they're actually getting in, you know, over, you know, all this other fucking bullshit is like to say one hand to the other, like, Asians are your problem. Like, everything the American propaganda machine says in one way or another, Asian Americans or China is your problem.
Okay. Yeah, so be prepared for more attacks to my Asian brothers and sisters. We're going to get more shit coming our way. So That's going to be bad.
I also feel like it's like pretty obvious when like other companies or not companies, countries are in the last like couple of decades, like 30 years, 40 years, have been able to become greater with their economy. And in those same years, America, which was one of the biggest, largest economies, like we've gone down in almost stance in almost like every aspect of life. Whether it's like
a large part of that was
security, education, and all of that. And if you look at that from like a business standpoint, typically it's because something is going wrong from the inside.
Well, a large part of that was because of the deindustrialization that really occurred in the 1980s as our economy was being restructured after the Vietnam War. We like threw so much money at it, like hyperinflation and like stagflation was a big concern in the 1970s. So in the Reagan era, like it was restructured in this kind of like neoliberal system that focused more on the service industry, or like I guess like the information services industry, and less on manufacturing, because we were the ones that were profiting actually from moving our industrialization to China, because we at the time we bought these products that were a lot cheaper now that they were made with Chinese labor. Right. So a lot of people like to bring up the fact like, oh, well, the only reason China is big and strong now is because we were their customers. Well, yeah, we were also fortunate to be their customers, because like the things that we would buy, these light industrial products, would be a lot cheaper because they were from China. And so like we had this kind of like fool's gold era in the 1980s, 1990s of seeming like we were prosperous, but really it was because of the cheap products that were coming from China and this kind of like restructuring that made us seem like the economy was doing okay again, when really like you said, it was from the inside. It was like our industrial base is like rotting away,
right?
And like real stuff, like real commodities that are being built were not being built here anymore. Like all that infrastructure of people like learning how to make high skilled products, that all went away to China. And it was a lot of it was due to our own fault.
Yeah,
right?
Coupled with corruption, and all of a sudden we don't have any resources.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in the past, 20, 30, 40 years, our economy has been running kind of like on fumes a little bit, and a lot of economic manipulation, especially when you see the mortgage-backed insurance stuff, the dot-com boom and bust, and now even like the crypto stuff. It's all based on these kind of like faulty value mechanism systems that make it seem like there's a lot of money, but like there's really just like, it just falls apart like a house of cards when there's an actual economic crisis. Like I think I saw some stat which said something like, the world's banks hold like $50 trillion in derivatives. And I'm like, if that unwinds, we're all fucking fucked. Like I don't think people... Like I said before, too, like I think the average American does not understand economics enough to understand politics, and how, politics, in my opinion, is just, everything runs downstreams from economy, right? Like how are we producing things?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people talk about politics or whatever, that's why that's glossed over when people talk about Kamala or Trump or whatever, because it's like, you aren't even talking about like the stuff that actually is going on underneath. So it's just like window dressing.
Okay. Well, thanks. Anyway, as pointed out by Sean Rain here, I think he's a half Asian dude. This $1.6 billion is more than twice of CNN's annual operating budget. And this is all just for anti-China propaganda. And then one more tweet from Tim Chirac. He says, as I said the other day, America is the most propagandized nation on earth, bar none. This is only the latest example. And then Amanda, cat content only, she says, oh, this is twice the annual operating cost of CNN, and if passed, would be a major increase of money on international influence operations. The main body for these ops, the State Department's Global Engagement Center, only has an annual budget of less than $100 million. So, yeah, that's a lot of...
Coin.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
Or NBC Asian America.
I feel like that's a lot of money can be used helping some people, but whatever.
A lot of people.
No, we just need hate crimes to increase.
Yeah. So anyway, So that's it with China. Just the point is, expect more hate crimes because they're going to spend $1.6 billion in
Hating us.
Yeah, hating us. It's a lot of money. And Democrats and Republicans are both all for this.
Which is funny because then they're like, oh no, there's hate crimes being risen against the Asian American community. What can we do?
They set the conditions to have the hate crimes, and then they condemn the hate crimes. And there we go. And then I saw this cool video. I think this is Shanghai, right? It says
Shenzhen, maybe.
Oh, Shenzhen, okay.
Or you might be right.
It says the United States spends billions on Israel, China spends billions on development. I just thought this was a cool video, so let's just play it.
I think usually these videos, I've seen these kinds of videos, and they come out of Shenzhen, but I'm not sure.
Because I thought this was the Bund or whatever of Shanghai, I thought.
Oh, yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. Just that Eiffel Tower looking thing, I think, is Shanghai.
And that's what I was trying to get at earlier is that like maybe this model of like trying to use war as our driving economy force like we have in the past.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe that model just doesn't work anymore because like at the time the world was a different place. The majority of the world, not the majority of the world, but a big portion of the world is starting to become more developed.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, can that brute force type of strategy work in this new age? You know what I mean?
Maybe
we need to stop doing wars and start doing what every other developing country has done, is to just invest in themselves and their people.
Right, but I think the current system is so ossified in this cycle of war
because it benefits the 1%ers. They just keep getting richer. They don't give a shit about the rest of the country.
I think I said this maybe some other place, but like a lot of people say like, oh, is Israel controlling America or is America controlling? I think that's like the wrong question entirely. I think it's just kind of like they both have vested interest in keeping each other safe or whatever, because like
codependent as shit.
CIA and the Mossad, they've been tied together since the 1950s, 1960s. So like if like one of them goes down, the other one can be like, hey, I'm gonna fucking like reveal all these secrets about you if you like. So there's a good chance Israel could have like a lot of blackmail material on the United States because it probably helped it
for sure
do a lot of like terrible things. I think the American government is just too far entrenched in this strategy that it can't pivot even if it wanted to.
Well, yeah, and I don't think they want to, because the people who control the country, they're becoming richer, you know? And like it's wild because like maybe other people haven't seen it, but to notice a difference between 1990s Korea and Korea, and I haven't been there in the last 6 years, but even like 2014 Korea or 15, whatever the fuck it was, like Korea went from like it was poor to now almost every door is an automatic door. And like, we can't even fix a pothole that's been on our streets for like 5 years. You know, like there's a huge disconnect there. And I think, I don't know, I just feel like the biggest problem with America and the thing that we need to focus our politicians on is like, we need to stop dealing with all this like international, oh, we're going to be the, you know, like the big brother to the rest of the world. Like, we need to stop with that fake facade shit and just start investing back into our own economy.
I mean, that was bullshit all the way back during the Cold War. I mean,
it was, but at least then it was like, it was still at least helping the American economy, so they could like use that as an excuse. You mean like, yeah.
Every
time we went to war, the economy would get better, but that's not happening anymore.
Well, that's because they would have resources and shit to lose.
Exactly.
Well, that being said, let me go into this video. This is, I think it's Eric Exley, who's a venture capitalist from China. He did go to UC Berkeley, I think in the 80s, but he's usually got pretty good perspectives. So let me just play this video.
All right. Had made tremendous amount of money in the last 20, 30 years, but it didn't distribute that money equitably inside America. 8 years ago when we had this flare up over Taiwan. Okay, and he said, you know, if you guys make a move on Taiwan, we'll have enormous sanctions. My answer is, who will be sanctioning whom? If you sanction China, I go back to use iPhone 10. I was happy with it 5 years ago. But if we sanction you, you won't have iPhones at all. Just a joke. Okay. when U.S. began to make iPhones in China 10 years ago, a $1,000 product, we kept 3.5% in China. Today, the number is up to 26%. I mean, if we made the chip in there, it would be 60% or 70%. We don't, unfortunately. Maybe we will.
Korea.
Okay. So we need to repeat the iPhone story in every sector. That's what China needs to do. The goal is to raise our per capita income by a couple of notches in the next generation. That's all we're after. Now, the U.S. perceives that as a threat. I think the United States had made tremendous amount of money in the last 20, 30 years through globalization, especially in this relationship with China. But it didn't distribute that money equitably inside America. It didn't invest well inside America. That's why it's finding it difficult to compete and win based on current rules. So that's what this deglobalization trend is happening, and it's reality. We have to deal with that. But China is doing all this technology stuff, for its own needs.
Our country doesn't even know what the word equity means.
Yeah. So, what do you think? He says U.S. hasn't been investing in its people.
That's literally what I was just saying.
And it's interesting you use the 30-year mark. I think a lot of that has to do. I think I've spoken about this theory before, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fall of the Soviet Union. Eisenhower, during his term with the Cold War, he built that whole highway thing, right, in the 1950s. I think like when you have a competitor like the Soviet Union, the U.S. government had to make kind of like concessions and changes and like infrastructure or whatever. Even the internet, indirectly, it was a way to have military and colleges interact with each other in the case of nuclear war, or even the space race. A lot of like new technology has arrived out of that. So it almost was like a benefit to Americans that the Soviet Union existed, just because it kept our own government honest. It kept our own government, hey, maybe we need to participate in the space race and further humanity or whatever the case may be. Even a lot of, it's interesting, I was reading this book on the FBI, and they actually thought that the civil rights movement was a Soviet propaganda thing, a movement, which is not 100% false, but it was more that they were like the Soviet Union was pointing out you're being racist, because like they're saying to the Soviet Union, you're so restrictive, blah blah blah. Like, well, these are not even citizens. You treat these people like
slaves.
Yeah, exactly. And so because of the Soviet Union, America had to look at a lot of its problems that existed even before World War II and fix them. But after 1991, I mean, like that's why I say, like, whenever you go to an airport today, unless you're going to the international section, it all looks like it's just built in the 1980s, 1990s. Because I think that's the point at which America stopped caring.
Yep.
Because politicians didn't have to.
Yep.
We don't have the Soviet Union to care about, or now we have China to care about. But like Chinese propaganda isn't as good. A lot of that video we saw of that Shanghai, a lot of people don't even know that Shanghai is that advanced still in America. And so that's why they're pursuing these sorts of strategies.
Yeah.
Instead of just investing in our infrastructure and like getting back into skilled trades and like building up those schools and those people and those programs.
Because I think like a lot of the way American quote unquote democracy is structured is that someone will come into office and they'll see all these problems and they'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to try to solve the ones that'll make me look the best.
Because I can do it.
Yeah, because I can do it, or that'll make me look like I'm doing something, and then shove the rest aside for the next incumbent that's going to come in, like make them deal with it. Everything has been just like passing the buck onto the next generation, from like Social Security to all these other problems in America. And so for the past, 80, 90 years, I guess, 79 years since World War II, basically it's all just been passing along the problems of the previous generation. It's just like it's like the equivalent of like a person, a kid told to clean his room and he just stuffs everything into his closet. That's basically been American policy for the past, domestic policy for the past 79 years.
And by the way, we talked about the 1.6 billion that's being used around the world. This maybe ties in with something that I read actually also recently. Vietnamese military television, Vietnam is ruled by the Communist Party, announced an attempt by the United States to carry out a color revolution, I'm guessing, in Vietnam. A university funded by the United States, which mainly teaches public policy management, has become the source of Vietnam's color revolution. So several students from the school have been sentenced for their subversive activities against the Vietnamese government. This person has been saying, die WW. And
it's kind of a Chinese ultra, but so I don't really.
It is the nature of American regime to overthrow the communist government, more in the blah, 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 blah. And its pro-Western potential, blah, blah, blah. There's a big pro-American community in Vietnam, especially in the South. I noticed that this university is located in Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon.
I noticed that as well.
Which is not a coincidence. And northern Vietnam has a stronger socialist tradition and closer ties with China. So if a color revolution really breaks out in Vietnam, China should not hesitate to support the pro-China faction of Communist Party Vietnam in northern Vietnam, at least to ensure that the northern part of Vietnam will not be overthrown. By the color revolution. Mao once said the U.S. ground troop must not cross the 17th parallel north. And it is still the same today. So that happened last week. I saw an actual Vietnamese report on it too. I couldn't verify the subtitles though. Anyway, let's go from that to...
so the $1.6 billion ain't working in Vietnam.
Yeah, it's not... I mean, that's kind of a bad place to do it if you already killed millions of their people and, before we get into Kanye in China, let me get into this.
You don't have to. It's just.
But there was a British teacher, like an online teaching thing, those language class thing. Yeah. So a British teacher was teaching as a Chinese student, Taiwan is not China. And the Chinese kid and her mom countered him. And then the British man went crazy, shouting political slogans. He sounds like a complete loser. He's a disgusting British gentleman. So... let's check this out. It's pretty, he gets angry and he cusses at them.
I mean, the fact that he's an educator and he doesn't see that background is so distracting alone is a red flag.
Yeah.
Well, he's British scum.
All right, here we go.
Very, very modern. Where do I come from? Do you know? Where am I from? 我是哪个人？你知道？ I am from Japan? No. I'm from America? No. Where am I from? Can you guess? I am from... England. 我从英国来的, yeah. But I live in Taiwan for a long time, yeah. In Taiwan, in Kaohsiung. And do you know, 你知道, Taiwan 不是中国, Taiwan 是一个国家, 你知道吗? Taiwan 没有办法是中国, Taiwan 一个国家. Do you know Taiwan is a country? 你知道吗? Taiwan 是台湾. Taiwan 一个国家, 对. Taiwan 没有办法是中国. Taiwan will always be Taiwan, and Taiwan will never be China. Do you know this? 你知道？
台湾就属于中国的。如果你要是这样，
台湾不是中国，台湾是台湾而已。台湾是台湾而已。干中国，拜拜，干中国。台湾是台湾而已。台湾没有办法是中国，拜拜，再见，拜拜。台湾是台湾，喂，拜拜。
All right.
Weird.
Now, he may have those feelings, but why do you say that to a little Chinese kid and then throw your middle finger?
Because he's scum.
I mean, that kid was literally like 4 or 5 years old. Like, even if that is what he believed, that was very inappropriate way to go about that. Also, he's an English teacher, so...
Yeah, he thinks he's, what is he, like Drew Pavlov or something. Chen Weiha, he's a journalist from China, works for the government. He says... white trash, obviously. Andy Borham. Not only is his Mandarin crap, his English is crap as well. And why is he speaking broken Mandarin when they're paying for an English teacher? What the fuck language is that? Wow, I've never seen a teacher flip off and curse a mother and child like that. What a fucking loser. I hope to hear an update about this idiot in 5 years. Anyway. Yeah, so thoughts on this, Doug? You haven't said anything.
I mean, what is there to say? Scum.
Yeah, he's
Just scum.
a
Okay.
loser.
What else? Yeah, what else do you want me to say? Like,
I don't know.
is there any sort of insight here?
Some
He's just
mind
like
virus or I don't know, some
I mean, it
theories.
seemed fine until he started flicking off. Like, even the adamancy about Taiwan was like, whatever, until he started getting too... Like, after the first or second time, it was like, whatever. But then after the third, fourth, fifth, 10th time, then the flicking off of the finger was like...
I think one thing you could say to him is like, Scotland will never be part of the United Kingdom. Scotland is its own country. Northern Ireland is its own country. Wales,
Yeah,
like,
it's still the UK. Don't know what to tell you.
yeah.
Or more like,
Or you know how you piss off Americans, say like, oh, California should be independent. Texas should be free.
I would just say Churchill is more evil than Hitler. Because he is.
Be like, I agree. California should be on its own.
And Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands,
100%.
Hawaii,
Be their
Alaska,
Yep. All of
Colorado.
those should be their own country.
Mariana Islands.
U.S. should turn into like 53 different countries or something, right? Or
I
whatever.
mean, the mainland can be whatever, with the exception of California. But Guam, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, for sure, should get their countryship back.
Hey, are we going to Hawaii, by the way? Oh, wait.
They just manifested it to these people.
Okay. Hey, so
You witnessed it.
in
If you
U.S.
would like to see us in Hawaii, let us know.
What was it? Taiwan, 3.6 Taiwan teacher. Okay, 3.7.
What are you writing here?
No, I'm
3.6?
trying to organize the stuff we're talking about. Yeah, so here's another thing. The United States sends unserviceable arms to Taiwan.
So
They sold
sending them
Taiwan
crap.
a bunch of bullshit that they can't use. How do you rip off your buddies like this? I mean,
I don't even understand what we're looking at.
So U.S. is sending quote unquote munitions to Taiwan or whatever, but apparently it's
Why does the right photo look like seat cushions?
because apparently those are what we're sending them.
yeah.
Here's some ammo. Here are some cushions.
That's how corrupt our military-industrial complex is. I mean, this was going on in fucking Ukraine too. Like a bunch of our shit wasn't even working in Ukraine.
Yeah, they're just getting rid of the shitty shit.
Yeah, but we're selling them at market prices. So our
I feel like this was in a movie before. War
Because
Dogs?
because it's probably
happens a lot.
I mean, even Bill Hicks, comedian who died in the 90s, he used to say, yeah, just keep selling them the shitty shit and then bombing them with, your advanced shit. Anyway.
Well, the other thing is too is just like everyone and their mother knows like Taiwan would not last 5 minutes against China in a direct military. Like China has no actual designs to invade Taiwan. That's just what the American kind of like propaganda ministry is trying to make it seem like, so they can create a false flag, so they can start World War III.
Kind of like if some random country started selling Hawaii a bunch of ammunition.
Exactly.
Yeah, China should do that. Here's even a pro-Taiwan person here. They got the Taiwanese flag. It says, this is the sort of thing that fuels doubt about America's seriousness as an ally in Taiwan's military preparedness. I'm reminded of what KMT legislator said in a recent talk show. It's not that we haven't been raising our military budget. We have. But did we get our goods in time? I think not. Is what we've gotten sufficient in quantity and quality to meet our challenge? What is it exactly we've gotten from the United States that's concrete? Agreements, promises, even just the timely delivery of what we paid for? What we got? Moldy body armor and machine guns carelessly strewn in boxes without proper packing.
That's what that was.
This is just disrespectful and a whole lot of it's in the mail. Eldridge Colby, who is
He's just a fucking think tank.
okay. He's been banging the drum for Taiwan to up its defense spending. What message is the U.S. sending to Taiwan when we're paying top dollar for junk? So,
That's what that was, is moldy body armor.
even Shang Yu says, nothing new. The U.S. strong-arms the Taiwan administration into agreeing to arms sales. The taxpayer gets ripped off, and the military is just as incapable at warding off a People's Liberation Army advance. Can't think of many better grifts.
Yeah. I mean, like, ever since Chiang Kai-shek died in the 1970s, Taiwan had no designs like so the initial thing was like that they were going to rebuild their strength and take over China again. But after that, after he was gone, the military of Taiwan kind of like went to shit. And yeah, like they have no action. No one's defending Taiwan.
Yeah. And president, I think this guy's Taiwanese or something, right? He's Chinese or something like that. He goes, with friends like this. Okay. Another Chinese person says, pro tip, send defective chips from TSMC back to the U.S. in retaliation. One person just laughed like Doug did earlier. More laughs. Yeah, initially you just laughed.
Oh.
Buying rubbish from America at premium price started under Lingwensky.
Like Tsai Ing-wen.
Oh, Tsai Ing-wen.
Zelensky. But
I see.
Calling Tsai Ing-wen like another Zelensky.
And I don't see it stopping anytime soon under Qing-Tesky. I guess that's the new leader.
Yeah.
Didn't the British Empire do this to the Qing? Did they?
I don't know.
I don't know about this. Qing Dynasty, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, chumps, but the quality stuff goes to Israel before anything else.
That's the biggest thing, probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Israel's getting all the good shit now, right?
Yeah, you need JDAMs to kill children.
Yeah, they're like saying, "Fuck those Chinks, give the good shit to the Jews, our masters." Selling bogus machinery to our allies, not a great look. Taiwan's Ministry of Defense should have sent that rubbish back immediately. Do you think they did, or they said, thank you, sirs?
They definitely said, thank you, sirs.
Typical U.S. scammers. What is this?
Do you think the Taiwanese government, the DPP, is in any position to negotiate with the American government? They need to take what they can get.
This person says, to the Taiwanese, if you seek recognition and respect from the international community, it's time to reassess your approach. Instead of relying on the U.S., focus on dialogue with mainland China, which holds the key to your recognition.
That's just jibber jabber.
Yeah, recognition as a what, though?
Yeah, exactly. That's not gonna. What is that gonna do?
U.S., we will sell you trash to defend your own freedom. Taiwan says, but aren't we your sugar baby? U.S. says, how much does that trash? What?
I don't know. It's just some.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty. Yeah, like for Taiwan to still, and this is how they package it. I mean, even Amazon.
So there was this other report about like the arms we're sending to Ukraine, about like how 20% is unaccounted for.
Oh wow!
And this was like a CBS report. I think they took it down after that or whatever. Soon afterwards.
Is it gonna be like Lord of War into Africa?
But that's what they were saying. That like basically how we, helped the quote unquote Mujahideen in the 1980s.
Right.
And then later on, Al Qaeda used those same fucking weapons to terrorize us, right? It's just like, there's probably going to be some right-wing terrorists that come out in Ukraine, as well as like some, I guess probably not Taiwanese terrorists, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's check this out, though. What did they...
Well, they're not even sending good shit to Taiwan.
Moldy body armor plates delivered on December 2023. Source, the American Institute in Taiwan. Yeah. What great friends. Man, they don't even sell anything good.
Also, do we not realize that the internet exists and this stuff is going to get out?
Again, 80-year-olds in Congress.
I mean, even if it gets out, I figure the mainstream media is like, that makes us look bad. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So you got to go to what? You got to go to Taiwanese news to find out about this stuff. So, anyway. Yeah, that's pretty pathetic right there. Not even like a nice case, like, when you buy like a Rolex or something, they put it in a nice case.
Korea has their own kind of like military industrial complex a little bit, right? Like they make their own shit.
Well, Daewoo had the K2 rifle.
But I'm just saying in general, like...
Yeah, they have their own.
I mean, a lot of their shit is American made, of course, but for like basic stuff like firearms, I'm sure they have their own industry.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Let's get into OnlyFans. No, let's do this. Okay. Mick Wallace, he's a Scottish. Is he Scottish?
I don't know.
No. Wallace, isn't that? Wait, Wallace is Scottish, right? He's not like Irish. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think he's a Scottish MP, I'm guessing. Let me just double check.
Irish.
Oh, he's Irish. Fucking A, he's Irish. Okay, he's Irish.
He's Irish.
Oh, he's not even like UK. He's like Ireland, like independent Ireland. Okay.
What is that hair?
I don't know about that first photo.
Oh, he's a member of the European Parliament. Okay, he looks like a rocker. Anyway, he says...
He's now houseless?
Kamala Harris says, I have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain.
It like makes me less want to vote.
Yeah,
for
like
actually.
wouldn't Democrats look at this and be like, oh, that's horrible?
Like I find it like just so like this is the level of anti-Asian racism.
I think what they're trying to do is say that like, look at all these Republicans who aren't endorsing Trump.
No, I know the idea about that. But what I'm saying is that like anti-Asian racism is so prevalent that a candidate like McCain could say, "I will always hate the gooks" during a 2000 presidential campaign, and they'll still be
2004.
fucking endorsed by fucking lunatics like Kamala Harris.
No, that was 2008.
No, he had another election in 2000. It was for the Republican nomination.
Dang, even
that he
Megyn
failed.
Kelly is endorsing Kamala.
No, she's not.
It said it down there.
I just heard her talk shit about Walls a few days ago.
Oh, it says Megan Riley. That said Megyn Kelly.
And
But
whatever, who cares?
anyway, so this is bad for... I mean, this just proves that Democrats and Republicans...
Yeah, it's all about the military. Everything is about imperialism to these fucking clowns.
So Mick Wallace, the Irish politician, says, in case anyone thought there was any difference between the Democrats and Republicans in the U.S., as Noam Chomsky said, there's only one party in the U.S. It's called the Business Party. We should also call it the War Party. What is this? This guy says Zionists. Yeah. I thought I saw some more comments on the... Sabby says, you have the endorsement of warmongers. The neocons love you.
Why is this a newsworthy item right now?
We have 4 minutes left. Okay, and last thing before we end for today, unless we have time for Kanye. So it seems like in 2023, OnlyFans content creators made $6.6 billion, whereas the combined NBA payroll for the 2023-2024 season is $4.9 billion, making OnlyFans $1.7 billion more, which is more than which is about 35% more. So OnlyFans might be, can be very profitable for some people.
Well, I mean, there's only 500 NBA players. I want to see I would want to see the breakdown in terms of like.
Wait, how many
much
NBA
of that
players did
revenue-
you just say?
There's only 500 NBA players.
4,800. That's what Google
active?
just told me.
I think active
Oh, maybe I didn't look up active. OnlyFans creator.
or 450. Yeah, something like that.
15 times 30, about
I thought
450.
4,800 sounded
Obviously,
crazy.
there's G League and all this other stuff, but
Yeah.
they're only concentrating their,
And there's probably like 5 million OnlyFans creators, right?
4.12.
Yeah, so
4.12
I want to know
million?
like how much of that 6.6 billion is going to how many people? Like,
Yeah, so obviously they're not talking about per
No, but
employee, but still.
I know that 95% of them never make enough to
yeah, so like
Yeah.
most of that money is going to like
the top,
For sure.
like point,
Yeah,
like 1%, top 0.1%.
but that's still probably more than 450 people, right?
No, but you've seen I've seen read things like, oh, she says she makes like 500,000 a month or something like that just from OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy that you can make millions of dollars from doing.
Well, it's just like porn at scale now.
We should do something like this.
What?
Yeah, the top percent of OnlyFans employees are about the same as NBA players. It's about 410 people.
How would we do anything like this? We don't have. I mean, do you have hot women to exploit?
3 guys, 1 doll.
Yeah, no one's paying for that.
You never know.
I think you're excluding out a whole demographic of sexuality, people.
Who?
Peace. specific people who'd be interested in just 3 guys.
And a robot.
Gay guys? What?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway, it seems like...
wouldn't even be interested in this. I'm sorry, no.
You want to try it? Oh, is that like a gag ball thing?
I don't know. I did the same thing earlier, actually.
Okay.
Goodness gracious. But yeah, it's not that big of a... I think they're trying to be like, oh, look at how much money men are spending on sports rather than porn.
But I wonder how much...
But that part is true, though. Regardless of how many content creators
Right,
there are,
but there
men are
are
still spending more money on porn than they are
Well,
on
there
the NBA.
are also...
Do you spend money on porn? I don't.
First of all, there are other sports.
Do you spend money on porn?
No, I haven't spent money on porn ever. I'm like,
So
it's all fucking free.
The few guys that do spend on porn, they must spend a ton. Because I don't know anybody who
That's the
pays for
model.
porn.
That's like the... It's similar to a lot of
Must
games
be like a
and
drug.
whatever.
They keep buying like drugs or something.
Well, the
Well, I think
OnlyFans
it's like
thing
I think it's the whole parasocial relationship
yeah, it's the personalized
Yeah, I
kind of
think-
like, oh, this person's actually talking to me.
thing. Right. Or like even if they don't talk to you, there's like a transaction. So you feel like you're closer to them versus watching like generic porn from like Pornhub, which is just like some, whether it's amateur or
Corporation. It
not.
feels like a
it's
corporate
some
kind of like-
production,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Versus like I have this direct connection to this person because parasocial relationships have gotten out of control.
Parasocial.
Yeah.
As in like relationships that only exist on the internet.
Yeah. Where it's a one-way thing where the
So-
other person probably doesn't even know you exist.
People have become more and more dependent on those types
Yeah.
of relationships.
Because like, I mean, I'm sure
especially over the pandemic.
every one of us has seen someone on social media and have been like, oh, I feel like I know this person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether because you follow them so much or because they reveal so much of their lives. But a lot of people feel like they have this relationship with people online and that person doesn't even know you exist for the most part.
Yeah. So that was like, so that brought in the influencer model, right?
Yep.
Of like people going on the internet and, like hot women streaming on, Twitch or whatever and getting a bunch of donations from their whatever. OnlyFans is kind of like the next level of that, right? It's just kind of like the same sort of thing, but now you're seeing a little bit of extra, a little bit more, whatever.
And the creators are incentivized to actually interact with their followers because they can sell you things.
Yeah. Or they'll take like requests or something like be like, oh, see my personalized pics that I made just for you or something like that. And so people pay money for that shit.
Yeah, I'd like to do this kind of business somehow.
I mean, it's highly exploitative, and
You have a phone, you have the
corrupt,
internet.
in my opinion.
You
but
can start whenever.
Let's make a channel.
this is like the highlight of why capitalism.
Let's call
is
it
corrupt,
the
but
Raw
sure.
Doggers. No? Okay.
What if it was a
All right.
channel of just all the different types of phones with no cases on them?
This is the iPhone 14. And anyway. Yeah, I know you want to use that word, but anyway.
I'm not opposed to starting a platform, though. That's where empires are built.
Yeah.
To do good.
Bald spot. All right. Well, great show today, guys. Doug's got the COVID, and
Bald spot.
The Rona. You better not. I still have not to this day gotten the Rona.
you're just
I've gotten
asymptomatic.
it a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's it for Ktown Social Club. We talked about China. We talked about Vietnam. We talked about OnlyFans. We talked about the Taiwan teacher guy who said F China, whatever. And we talked about
Covered a lot of topics today.
Taiwan not getting shitty weapons from their ally that they have a special relationship with.
I feel like there's a lot of like opened, unbridled hate from English people. Remember that video a few months ago of like this English person saying like he was like playing piano or something, and the CCP agent was.
Oh, that fucking guy.
Yeah, there always seem to be from fucking England because like they're sour that they got
Yeah, he was playing piano at a train station, and then there was a group of Chinese people there filming their own thing. Those Chinese people were irrational, though. But the white guy...
He was doing things on purpose to antagonize
I know.
them.
He was calling them Japanese and saying konnichiwa and all this.
Yeah.
And then later they're like, don't film us. And then they should have just dropped it because they're not in China and they're not... But then they were acting like bad Chinese people. And then this guy fucking pounced on it and said, well, the communists can never tell me what to do and this and that, and turned into a big thing. And
but just like that sort of thing in general, I think it stems from, these are older. These seem to be like older Englishmen who see that their empire has crumbled, and, because they, defeated China 200 years ago, they probably feel some type of way about, China now regarding England as just like a nothing burger now.
They will soon be irrelevant.
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, with small penis envy.
Yeah, I don't think Brits have such a progressive ideology when it comes to racial relations.
Well, they're scum. They basically they were the leaders of oppression for 200 years.
Yeah. So fuck them.
Yes.
Okay.
They are the most evil civilization.
I say fuck the Union
history.
Jack because a lot of Asian people, especially like, I don't know why, but a lot of Asians think it's fashionable to have a Union Jack like rug or sweater or hat or something.
Cucks. It's like shows like Bridgerton that like cuck people.
I mean, I understand that it kind of looks cool in a way, but man, why do you want to wear this shit anywhere or have this like Union Jack accessories? I bet you'll see Asians with this stuff.
That's what Victorian era propaganda was meant to do. It was meant to make like high English culture seem like this sophisticated thing that you had to aspire towards.
Yeah, I mean, whenever people talk about be a lady, that's what they're talking about is the British standard.
What the propaganda was for, to maintain control of their empire by saying like, oh, it's because we're proper and we're better than everyone else that we're in control.
Yeah.
Well,
high society.
Yeah.
Remember what
fucking scum.
Just remember that Irish song, "Go Home, British Soldiers." Go on home, British soldiers. Go on home. Have you got no fucking homes?
I just don't know how much I trust people who took an Indian dish that they colonized and then call it their own cultural dish.
Tikka masala, butter chicken.
Butter chicken.
For 800 years.
Or like a couple months ago, made videos about how like they love to say like,
the other thing I learned recently was that in 1917, when the October Revolution was happening, they were the ones who put in the propaganda against the Soviet Union that Jews were responsible for the October Revolution. Mm-hmm. They were the ones that actually started mass producing that propaganda.
Is that why they're now supporting Israel, or what?
No, but it has, implications in their ties with the Nazis.
Okay. Well, anyway, that Irish song says, "So fuck your Union Jack. We want our country back. So get out, you British bastards, and leave us be." Something like that. Anyway, it's a great song. Go Home, British Soldiers. Look for it on YouTube.
Take your word for it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Leave a comment. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel and smash that notification bell. All our socials are in the description box below. DJ Elf wants to come on and talk about Jimmy Dore. He says he's got the receipts to expose Jimmy Dore and these other leftist groups. I'm curious to see what information he's got. I want to know.
Are you even going to be here?
Yeah. Isn't he in New York?
Aren't you going to be in New York?
I'm not fucking interviewing DJ Elf.
You guys can hang out together.
You can hang out with DJ Elf.
Maybe you guys can go.
Maybe you can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do that.
Second episode, you did say you were going to call in, right?
No. I did not say any such thing.
Call in?
Yeah, well, last week we talked about how you're going to be in Maryland next week. And then when you're in New York, you said for that episode you might call in.
I'm not fucking... No.
Anyway, he's got all the receipts on Jimmy Dore, and I'm really curious because he kept saying like, "Why do you guys keep platforming or like mentioning Jimmy Dore?" And so I'm like, "Is Jimmy Dore really that bad? I want to know what's."
I don't even care about Jimmy Dore. He's just, God. Whatever.
Well, I mean, I'm a fan of Jimmy Dore, so I want to know: am I supporting someone bad? So if he's really someone bad, then I should know about it. And apparently, Jill Stein's pretty bad too.
I feel like all of that could be an email, but yes.
Yeah. Anyway, and we got some other people
in the pipeline.
In the pipeline.
We do?
Yeah, for guests.
Who's in the pipeline?
It's a surprise.
I I already forgot their names, but like random Koreans.
Don't say that. It's a surprise. It's a surprise. Cut that part out. Jesus.
Yeah, just some other Koreans and things. But
All right, let's just cut this
yeah.
now.
Anyway, yeah, thanks. And
Going off the rails.
well, it's even worse now, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
Focus, Michael.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
For the issues that you
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
really care about.
What is going on right now?
And I've been Michael Kim with Ed Choi and Douglas Lee Kim.
Oh, well, he didn't
Thank
call
you.
Michael on this time.
And we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Peace. I don't know what that was.
The peace?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not like?
Sometimes you say, that shit was fire.
Did you like
Not on this.
smoke up a lot or something yesterday night or something?
No, come on. I don't say.